Alright, what's up YouTube? Your boy Crypto Tone coming at you with another video. So, checking out this article from Bloomberg here. History shows this week's Bitcoin rally could be fleeting. So, before we get into that, let's take a look at the Dow Jones, guys, doing exactly what I hoped it would do. And we look to be falling down to this, down to this 200-day exponential moving average for the most part. We also have the bottom of this cloud there as well. So I would expect us to for sure get to this level. Of course, I don't know what I'm talking about, to be honest with you. But if we're already in this cloud, your next line of support, heavy support on this weekly candle is 21.3 or 21.390 for the most part. So expect us to get down to that level. It would make a lot of sense before a bounce comes up. Maybe we bounce around here and then we drop again in 2019. So I'm expecting 2019 to be a very bad year for the stock market for the most part. As you could see in the past, we've bounced off the 200 EMA a bunch of times in the past, since roughly 2011, since it's finally come back into a bull market. So, once we get these indicators showing us 100% bearishness, then that's when the correction will start 100%. So, or I'm sorry, the bear market will start 100%. So currently we're in a correction. However, I don't know. I mean, they all say that it's going to be worse than 2008, and this was a pretty bad year. Definitely, it was a pretty bad year. I remember it pretty well, all the way down to about March of 2009, and then it started ramping back up, and that's when the bull market started again. So, I would assume there's going to be another bull market, of course. I mean, this is just extremely overextended. So, who knows? Maybe we get all the way down to this high of 14,000. That would be insanity. But anything is possible with the Fed's hiking rates and things like that. So we'll see what happens. Now, the big question is that money going to flow into Bitcoin? And a lot of people seem to think it is. However, there's also a lot of people that think it won't. So why the hell did this thing just do that? I hate when it does that, because when it does that, it doesn't fix itself. So that's Bitcoin right there. We're about 84% down, guys. We could still potentially see some more downside. However, there's always the possibility that we don't, guys. And, anything could happen in the crypto world. Now, let me restart this chart here. Now, it's going to bring me to Bitfinex for whatever reason it does. I have no idea. But Bitfinex has a higher premium than the normal exchanges. So I typically like to use Bitstamp, which has the most data from start to now. So we're currently at the 200-day EMA on the weekly, trying to test it. Does it break it is the question. The only way that I'm really, really bullish on this rally here is if we get above that nicely, all the way up to this, this 13 EMA here in the purple at around 4,900, and then bounce down back to 4,200, which is roughly the 200 EMA, and use it as support. If we can get that as support, that would be a really, really good sign. Because if you notice, guys, this is one of the biggest candles on the green side in a week that we've had. So if we can close this week out with this candle topped out over here, that would be great. If we come back down to 3,600, the candle's not going to look as good as it does now. So just keep that in mind, guys. The daily, obviously, the 200-day EMA is at around 6,000. So we're not really, really bullish until we get above that once again. And it could take quite a while to get above that. However, it does seem like we are finding a bottom. It does seem like that. So we could be finding a bottom. We could have already found the bottom. We could be finding a bottom. Now, shorts yesterday did ramp up a lot. However, they're coming back down a bit. So, usually when they get to all-time highs area, in the 42, 43,000 range, that typically means that it's time to buy. So in this case, selling shorts going down is not always a good sign. It would be really nice to see the shorts actually pick up. So market's in the dumps. Bitcoin is in the pumps. right now. So we shall see what happens. Let's get into this article and see what's going on. So history shows that this week's Bitcoin rally could be fleeting. This week's more than 25% rally in Bitcoin is impressive, but don't signal a return to its erstwhile boom years if its price history is a guide. The momentum that saw it soar from under $1 to almost $20,000 between 2011 and the end of last year is gone and unlikely to return, according to traders and analysts who look to chart patterns for clues on price direction. That's because a key uptrend on its logarithmic chart failed, and I've gone over this a million times, guys. I had this line on my chart for a while, and I really didn't think that logarithmic trend line was going to fall through like it did. So I really don't expect it to stay down there much longer. But hey, it's Bitcoin, guys. It kind of does it does the opposite of what we actually think it's going to do. So there's a lot of, you could have made this line touch the bottom here and brought it up here and say it was under there. So, I mean, these lines at the end of the day are just used as a guide to kind of help us, be able to, just kind of augment our due diligence, if I could say, like Hajin Lee used to say. Even crypto bulls like Charlie Morris, a fund manager at Atlantic House Ltd., which manages $1 billion in assets, are skeptical that the future is as bright as the past. Having been active in the market since 2013, he said gains are likely to now be more modest in the wake of this year's more than 70% decline. That trend has been a great ride, but it is broken. Morris said in a letter to investors, the long-term chart tells you to prepare for lower rates of return. Parallels could be drawn between the demise of last year's bubble and the end of the dot-com boom of the 1990s. According to Paul Day, a technical analyst and head of futures and options at Market Securities Dubai Ltd., the Nasdaq Composite Index then also plunged almost 80% when it finally recovered to its pre-crash highs. More than 15 years later, many of the early stars were no longer around. If, and it's a big if, cryptos survive and the winners become viable mediums of exchange in the years ahead, there is nothing to say the winners have ever been created yet. He said by email, blah, blah, blah. So, nothing too great in that article there, to be honest with you. Yeah, it could go down. Yeah, we could see less returns. But at the end of the day, with all the infrastructure that's being built around this technology, I just can't really agree with that. I think there's when there's a pump like this came out this morning. And the reason why this came out this morning is because Bitcoin is in a rally right now. So they need to start fudding it so that people sell and they get scared and they kind of move away from it and they just forget about it. That's what they want. But the reality is that the banks are getting in. I watched a video from Tika Tawari the other day where he was on in a room speaking with I forgot the guy's name, but basically was just going over how JP Morgan was saying how it's going to zero. However, then they were buying at the same time. Goldman Sachs was saying it's going to zero, and then they're buying and starting a crypto desk at the same time. So it's all basically, let's just FUD the shit out of this market so the retail investors get hurt and they steal money from the American public for the most part, like they've been doing for eternity for the most part, and they get away with it. And it's really unfortunate to, the people throughout the world that are trying to make better for themselves, and they just keep doing this, guys. So it's really sad to see that they can't see that the technology is really big. Although Bloomberg is really big on crypto, and guys like Novogratz, who's hugely heavy on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I mean, these guys are billionaires. They know what's coming. There's one point I want to make is that, back in the day, people didn't have internet connections and things of that nature, and the only sources they had were the actual news media. So the people that they were listening to were only the news media. But now we've learned so much and we've advanced so much, you know, in the public world for the most part for normal people, that we could actually kind of go outside the box and not have to listen to the nonsense that they throw at us. And we could kind of get a better feel for our investments by watching real, you know, channels on YouTube that actually show, you know, the articles that are not being pushed out there like they should. Like, you know, CNBC should be coming out and saying, like, look, you know, crypto's being bought up by the banks, 100%, and this, that, and the third. Instead, they have these guys come on like Brian Kelly, who has been a Bitcoin bull the entire year, who told everybody to sell Ripple at 70 cents, who told everybody to buy Ripple at $3.50. I mean, it's just constant mindfuck of the public. And they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose because they know what's coming and they want to fill their bags. So, again, guys, take what the media says with a grain of salt. You have to understand the media is owned by the many powers in the world that have tons of money. And they want to take your money. They want to take your money because they want to have control. Whoever has the money has control, guys. So it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They feel they're not breaking the law. The law really doesn't give a shit because they have a lot of money to get out of trouble. God forbid they needed to sue CNBC for any which reason. You know, what's going to happen is they're not going to be able to, you know, the law enforcement agencies that are going to go after them are going to, you know, be stopped in the middle of the road because they're not going to be able to afford to actually go after these people because they got tons of money. The people who own these news networks have tons of money. Same thing goes for CNN and Fox News. Those people hang out, guys, but they do it on purpose because they want to brainwash people into thinking one way or another. And that's why, you know, why you know, America works the way it does, because everybody is you're either one or you're this one. So there has to kind of be the two parties and then a couple of other parties in the middle. You know, that kind of creates your thought process behind politics and whatnot. They want you to have that. And of course, if we had only one, you know, political party, then obviously we'd be communist, right? So that's why they do things, in my opinion. You know, if I'm wrong, comment below, let me know what your thoughts are. But honestly, news media, politics, it's all bullshit at the end of the day, guys. So we got to kind of go on YouTube, do our own research, and look at where the money's going. Wherever the money's going is where we want to go. We don't want to go the opposite way of the money. You see the money flowing into crypto. You see what they're doing to build out this technology. Technology over the past 50 years, 60 years has only grown better and better and better. You know, so the powers who be do not want the public to actually make money because they want to stay in power. So if it was a level playing field for everybody in the public, it just wouldn't work. So hopefully if you're watching this channel, you understand that, and you're on the other side as, you know, as the 1% of the population that thinks this way. You know, unfortunately, many people just don't have that ability to think outside the box. So, with that being said, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Holla at you, boy. Peace.